So I'm going to talk about the squad and whether the squad is actually helping or hurting the American left because it seems like there's been a lot of criticisms of the squad in the past, still is, and some people just don't think that the squad really is that relevant in Congress anymore. Some people think that the squad is a good thing. So if you don't know much about the squad, it started in 2018 during the 2018 House elections. You had four progressives that were running AOC on Omar, Ayanna Presley, and Rashida Tlaib. And they were running as Democrats, but they were running in the Democratic primaries against corporate Democrats, and they were running with the Working Families Party. They were backed by DSA, and I think all of them. AOC ran against a incumbent Democrat. Ayanna Presley ran against someone that was already in Congress, and Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib. I think Rashida Tlaib ran against someone that was already running for re-election, but Ilhan Omar was running in an open seat, and the squad basically was formed after they all won and got into Congress, and then after the 2018 elections, that was when the squad became more popular because they were advocating for Medicare for all, the Green New Deal, and they kind of represent diverse districts, very democratic districts. And then in 2020, you had more squad members. You had Jamal Bowman running, you had Cori Bush running, and they were also running against incumbent Democrats that were in Congress. Cori Bush is running against Lacey Clay, and she won. And Jamal Bowman ran against Elliot Engel, and he also won. So they got two more squad members. And this was after the 2020 elections. Most of them backed Bernie. Ayanna Presley was more Warren Democrat. And then in 2022, you had like more squad members. Summer Lee won, and she narrowly won. I remember like I was surprised when she won. I did not think she was gonna win. And you also had Greg Kazar winning, Delia Ramirez winning. So that's uh, nine squad members in Congress. So they had nine of them, and that was really good for progressives. And I will point out, like, this was after Forced to Vote happened. A lot of people pretty much gave up on the squad 2 years after, like, they got into Congress over Forced to Vote because AOC, like, didn't support Forced to Vote. And AOC is kind of like the leader of the squad a little bit, so, like, she just shut it down. And Jimmy Dore was, like, one of the first people to support AOC, and like some people just thought that was a like kind of backstabbing Jimmy Dore and so many people on the left because AOC just didn't like she kind of canceled a lot of people that support her in the beginning. So that was when a lot of people gave up on the squad and started calling them the fraud squad. And I definitely like am disappointed that they did not support the forced vote strategy because that was like they all ran on Medicare for all, and uh, they should have kept their promise with that. But now that the squad is like a lot more bigger than it was back in 2020. It was like only four of them. They didn't really have that much leverage, but this time they have the leverage to actually try to do something like the force to vote strategy, like with nine members of the squad. Cori Bush and Jamal Bowman are no longer members of Congress, but Chris Rabb has won his primary, so he's likely going to join the squad. And then I'm sure a few others will win. So now like they can actually start using their leverage again, because that was what a lot of the Freedom Caucus conservatives did with Kevin McCarthy. So I do think the squad is good with making socialism and progressivism mainstream within the Democratic Party, but the real problem is that all of that doesn't really mean much when you never use your leverage to pressure the establishment Democrats to support progressive legislation. And that's sort of been the problem that people have had with the squad, and a concern that I also share. But overall, I do think it's good that we have progressives in Congress, but uh, really just the lack of uh, independence from the establishment really is the biggest issue a lot of people had, and why so many people have kind of given up on the squad.